Hello, everybody. My name is Edward S. Redcar, the host of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. And today I have the extreme pleasure of talking with Ella Muscroft. How are you doing today, Ella?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, very good. Yeah, I've seen, like I was saying, I've seen you've been busy with a lot of things, as we all are, but finishing your degree and keeping up with your filming career, and there's just so many things to talk about. I hope we can all kind of fit them in this hour or whatever here. So I'll get going with the first question that I usually ask everybody, whether they're musicians, singers, dancers, filmmakers, or whatever. You're into so many things: acting, writing, directing, producing, filmmaking. Could you talk a little bit about how you became interested in each of these?
Yeah. Um, I guess I'm quite fortunate really in that I came from a family of people in that industry. My dad still to this day is a musician in a touring musical. So he tours around the UK with that, has done for over 30 years. And then my mum was an actress in the West End, which is how they met. She's not in the industry anymore, but she was for a very long time. Um, so I kind of was brought up around theatre and around actors and creative people. I've got godparents who are in the industry and things like that. So that kind of gave me the bug, I guess. I was kind of born with the bug, and it kind of grew over time. And I started predominantly acting, just in kind of amateur dramatics or like community theatre, from
Mhm,
sort of the age of about six, and
mhm,
then
mhm,
started writing at about nine, having always kind of had a fascination with scripts. I used to kind of stare at the script when I was in a play when I was sort of 6 years old and just sort of follow the script really intently. So I always had a kind of fascination for that format of writing. So I sort of gave it a go when I was nine. And my dad got the actors that are in the show that he's in to audition for me. Because I wrote it as I was with him with that show, and then they all kind of put it on as a little script in hand play in between shows one day. So that was kind of when I was like, oh, writing's cool as well. And that kind of built into writing and acting, and then kind of over time, filmmaking and directing and writing has kind of taken over more than acting, and I've kind of realized I prefer sort of creating of things and then making of things instead of necessarily being in front of the camera.
mhm.
Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
how it started.
So, as far as your acting, you were saying that you got into like local community theater. Was there any productions, say, like when you were, coming up through your early grade school days, or like the your later education before you got into college? Were there any school plays that you got involved in along the way, along with local community theater?
Yeah, well, I did. So when I was the first one I was in was the Railway Children, production of the Railway Children. And that was when I was six. And then 2 years later I was in a production of the Snow Queen. And they were both sort of, we call it amateur dramatics in the UK, but it's basically community theatre. Um and then yeah, I didn't really do much in regards to school plays, ironically. I kind of tried for them, but I was very shy at school. Um, so I didn't really feel as confident doing them at school. But outside of school, kind of up until the ages of maybe about 17, 18, I would sort of do lots of community-based theatre and community-based plays of varying degrees. And that was really nice. I also took part in some kind of new writing nights as well. The company, sort of community theatre company that I was a part of, did
Mhm.
like new writing nights, so they put on in their little sort of studio space. So there was a couple of plays that I'd written myself and directed that then got put on in there. So it was nice to kind of have the balance of that kind of thing going on
Mhm.
outside of school and sort of differentiate the two, I
Hmm.
guess.
Hmm. Hmm. So then, like besides your acting in the community theater, um, you got into like producing, directing, filmmaking, but that was sort of in your later years when sort of in between your studies at the university. Is that when the producing, directing, the filmmaking really started to take over? Like you said, you prefer to do like the writing. you got into the writing part. So the rest of it, did that happen during your university days?
Yeah, I think the writing was always a kind of a constant, but the sort of directing, producing side of it, yeah, it came more when I was sort of 17, 18. I made a web series um that I wrote, directed, produced, and all that stuff, acted in. And that kind of was the start of me doing the process of writing something, casting something, directing something, being in charge of finding like the locations, and I really enjoyed that. So I did that at sort of 17, 18, and then that kind of kept going. And I kind of felt more of an obligation to write and direct things I'd written instead of writing them to act in them. That kind of desire to play the characters that I was creating sort of fizzled away the more interested I got in kind of the logistics of making a film. And that kind of took more of a priority. And I found that that was just something I naturally kind of enjoyed more as I got older.
Mhm. So you first started saying that both your mother and your father were both involved in the entertainment business. So did you always, or did you also get your writing, directing, besides your acting, your writing, directing, producing, filmmaking talent, inherited it from them? Did they sort of show you the ropes coming up in your early years about, yeah, okay, this is the way to film, this is the shot, this is the angle, this is how you direct, this is how you produce. Besides the acting, did they give you any pointers along the way for
Um,
both?
they actually no, ironically they didn't. They've not neither of them have got any experience doing that really. My
Okay.
dad's a musician, so apart from sort of playing the bass, he's not very knowledgeable about that aspect of it. My mum's the same really. My mum's interested in directing
Okay,
and is going to be
okay,
directing a bit of community theatre later this year. But
okay.
she's got no experience kind of working on film or acting in front of camera or anything. She was purely theatre. So yeah, the whole kind of writing, directing, producing part of things I've kind of had to sort of get good at just via trial and error,
Right,
really.
right, right,
Just sort of
right.
practicing and
Yeah,
trying out new
yeah,
things and it kind of coming that way. But they
yeah.
have been, I mean, they're super supportive of all of that. They never sort of pushed me into the industry at all,
Oh, that's
but
good. Yeah,
they're very
that's
kind of
good.
supportive in that way of
Right, right. So just sort of let you do your own thing, whatever you were interested in. They were like behind
yeah.
100%, right? That's yeah, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know about your acting talent. Well, I've never met your dad, but I have met your mom, and you know that from Barcelona last year, Love and Hope Film Festival, and I can very much see where you inherited your acting talent from her. So I can only assume that you inherited equally from your father too, because your parents uh, both sound like terrific people, and yeah, it was a pleasure to meet your mom last year, and so yeah, I can see where that entertainment talent that is in the bloodline and filtered down to you. So yeah, so kudos to your dad and mom. Kudos to your dad and mom. So. Yeah. So besides all of that, like you've been really busy the last several years in university, and I've seen you post that you recently completed your Bachelor of Arts in Honors. Congratulations in primary education 5 through 11, upper second class honors. Congratulations again for that. And so, with all of that, so to speak, behind you right now, with all those accomplishments behind you, sometime in the future, some point in the future, do you envision pursuing that career that you just finished your studies in combination, like with your film and audio drama projects, or is that sort of on hold for now?
Yeah, I think if I'm completely honest, the as much as I, really enjoy teaching and enjoy working with kids, I think that the idea of that degree was predominantly so I'd have some sort of fallback. Um, which I'm glad I did. I learned a lot, and it's obviously given me lots of transferable skills and knowledge that I can apply to even filmmaking. Um, yeah, at the moment, I'm definitely focusing more on getting back into my creativity and my filmmaking because that's kind of been a bit more on the back burner the past few years, especially
Mhm,
last
mhm,
year, than I'd like it to be. But in the future, I think it'd be really nice to find a way to merge the two
mhm,
and to at least use an aspect of my degree, even if it's, it'd be lovely to maybe combine some sort of like interactive kind of theatre company that goes into schools or
mhm,
some sort of company that maybe goes into schools and teaches them sort of basic filmmaking skills. It'd be nice to find some sort of way of combining my degree and my kind of big passions, just so I feel like I'm using it in some respect. But yeah, I'm just having a bit of a break for now anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's a situation for a lot of us, like we start, maybe studying something in the university or either that or we're maybe working in another field. And so it's always the popular opinion. Well, it's like you were saying, it's always good to have something to fall back on. At least you have that. And
Mm.
as a lot of us do, at least we have something to fall back on should we, choose to go that way. So yeah, that's very common for a lot of us in the entertainment industry, and it'll probably keep going on that way. Like what's the Latin phrase? Ad infinitum or something, forever and ever, or something like that. So. Uh, if I'm wrong saying that phrase, anybody in the audience, when I upload this to YouTube, put it in the comments, say, Ed, you were wrong, you spelled it wrong, you pronounced it wrong. So I welcome any of those comments or likes or whatever on my YouTube channel page when I upload Ella's interview here. So yeah. Um, Another thing that I'd like to discuss, ask you and talk with you about is that you have a new upcoming audio drama project, of which I'm privileged to be chosen as one of the cast, the character Acer, and it's called "This Doesn't Work for Me Anymore." And um, I just would like to know what was your motivation for creating that project in the first place?
Yeah, so I'm producing it with my company, Love Voices Silent Streets, and I think I'd tried out doing audio dramas before. We did a couple of years ago. One called Utterly Hopeless and one called Evergreen Bay, and they're still on YouTube and Spotify, I think. Um, they just worked really well. The company itself is massive and full of lots of people, as you know, from various places around the world.
Oh,
So I
yes.
find audio dramas are just a really good way of getting as many people involved as possible. You can always have really big casts in audio dramas that you can't necessarily have in
Yeah.
other things. And it's also just really convenient for the actors as well, because it's, if you've got a decent phone, you don't even need sort of high-tech equipment really. Um,
Mhm.
and it's mainly that really. I wanted to sort of, it's been a couple of years and I wanted to kind of have a project that most people could get involved in, as opposed to keeping it kind of
Mhm.
more limited. Um, and I quite fancy the challenge of it now that I finished my degree and I've got the time. So yeah, and I just thought it was a concept that worked and seemed to go down well and people enjoyed. So I just fancied
Mhm.
giving
Mhm.
it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were referring to that it's made up from all your Love Voices Silent Streets is made up of people from all over the world, myself from the US, you and a lot of other people from the UK, all of the countries, all the countries. And an interesting side note here, I just had to tell you this, is that like every once in a while, like my Instagram followers, I'll be involved like in the chat and, we each ask each other, oh, what you been doing now? And what are you involved in? So I just happened to, after you posted the announcement for this audio drama, I just happened to notice, oh, I've been casting a new audio drama and, it's in production. We're just getting started and they wanted to know more about it. So you might be getting a message from somebody you never heard of before. And they says, oh, they says, um, uh, who's producing it and this and that. And I says, I love Voice of Silent Streets. I says, if you're interested in joining the group, I says, Ella Muscroft, I says, contact her. Here's her Instagram page. So you might be getting a message from somebody that you've never heard of before. So hopefully that will be because of me. There might be other people that filter people towards you. So yeah. So your group keeps constantly growing, right?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. It's exciting. Got some exciting things coming up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the more exposure you get, the more people know about it, the more posts, the more responses from posts and comments, and yeah, it's nothing but good things ahead for you. So yeah, uh, taking another a question from another area of yours, you do short films. And I've noticed in a lot of your posts that three of your short films have officially been selected for the Global India International Film Festival. And the three of them are Until We Finally Meet, I'm Not Okay, and one that I've been hearing of all over the place, How to Avoid Death Forever. And that How to Avoid Death Forever has been accepted into the Love and Hope International Film Festival in Barcelona, Spain in September. Kudos again. And I'd like to know, like, any of those three or all of those three or anything else that you produce, have any of your other film projects been accepted into film festivals? I know they have. I know, but they don't out there. So tell
Um,
away.
yeah, quite a few. It was yeah, the recent Global India Festival was quite a shock really because I'm Not Okay and Until We Finally Meet are films that I did quite a while back. And they've sort of finished their festival run, so it was quite nice to get those. There were a couple of our regular kind of Loud Voices films that we shoot over Zoom. So they're on YouTube and everything. Um Last I was lucky last year to go to the Love and Hope International Film Festival in Barcelona, where I met yourself,
Yeah. I
with
think
another
I've
Loud
seen
Voices.
I think I've seen you there a few times, didn't I? I mean, we ran into
Yeah,
each other. Okay.
just a little bit.
Just
Um, but yeah, it was that was with a film called After Mum, which was probably Loud Voices Silent Street is kind of one of his longest films.
yeah, and thank you, and
That got
thank
into
you,
there.
and thank you for that opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Um, So yeah, so a few, but I think my most recent film, How to Avoid Death Forever, is definitely done the best out of all my films. It's also kind of my first kind of professional, sort of big in-person funded short film. And that was a script that I've been writing for a very long time. I think the idea I'd started probably about 10 years ago. Um, so that's doing pretty well. We're really happy with the reception that's getting, and it's, as you say, it's being shown in Barcelona in September, and it's also being shown at the North Film Festival in New York in November.
Mhm.
So doing quite a few tours at the moment, and hopefully it'll get into some UK based festivals, and then
Yeah,
there can be screenings down here.
yeah,
But yeah, that one's getting a really good reception and being
yeah,
received really well. So we're very grateful for that at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, I'm going to be following you around now because last year in Barcelona I was in your film, and this year this talk show, one of my talk show segments, is going with Catherine Louise Black, my interview with her. I'm going to be That's going to be screened in there, so I'll be in Barcelona the same time you are, but we'll be there for separate reasons instead of for the same reason, like last year. So
Exciting.
that'll be definitely be awesome. So yeah, so like with your audio dramas and your film projects, you're involved in each of those areas. So like in the future, do you plan on creating, say, like an equal amount of film and audio drama, or more film, less audio, more audio drama, less film? How do you see that for your plans in the future?
I think I'd love to be able to combine the two. I think realistically it'll be more film based, or short film based than audio drama based, just because of the practicalities of an audio drama. Um, but it'd be nice to maybe do, one audio drama a year. That'd be good. And then sort of scatter my kind of virtual short films and my in-person short films kind of at the same time. Yeah, I think it depends really. I think the balance of that is something that will hopefully come into light more when this new one comes out, and I can sort of see
Hmm.
how much time it takes up.
Hmm. So, like with the film portion of your career, you really started with the Zoom, right? And then you developed into the actual onset, of course, after the pandemic was over. None of us had any choice but to do everything on Zoom, I guess, at that time. So that was probably your your sort of first public way that you distributed your films was through the Zoom, right? Before you started getting back to actual on-set filming, right?
Yeah, kind of. Like I said, I'd done camera work before the Zooms. Sort of back when I was kind of 17, 18, I did that web series and a couple of shorts that I shot myself. Um, but yeah, definitely doing those films on Zoom was kind of what got the majority of my kind of writing out there and my working with different actors out there. Um, and then it is only recently, kind of since last year, that I've been doing proper sort of big scale
Hmm.
short films were kind
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
produced and funded and
Hmm.
completely on set and in person
Right,
and all.
right, right. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of well, the majority of your posts are all on set location filming. Like I says, with the advent of the pandemic, everything was shut down, so it's like more or less all of us were sort of channeled that way into the virtual, the protective virus-free virtual world, and yeah, it's sort of all of us developed into that in the pandemic, and then now we're just starting to all spread our wings to get back to like the new normal or reality or whatever. So yeah, and yeah, that's a good thing for all of us. So well, all of your film projects like Loud Voices, Silent Streets, um, like I mentioned, you created that during the pandemic, like in response to artists not being able to be face to face and sort of giving them an opportunity somehow to express themselves creatively when everything was closed up and shut down. And like for the future of your Loud Voices, Silent Streets, uh, what uh, what are your future goals, aspirations for the group, more and more filming projects, I imagine, right?
Yeah. I mean it completely came from the pandemic. I was sort of really struggling watching all these people losing their jobs in the industry, and my dad being one of them. My dad completely lost his job and had to become a food delivery driver for a food store, which he'd never done before. Um, so I wanted to do something to help give opportunities for people to still be creative, even if they're not in the industry, just to sort of have that. And then it's kind of blossomed since April 2020. Um, and yeah, goal wise, I think definitely, we're fortunate that we're back on track to release kind of one short film every month at the moment, which is lovely. And that's definitely something that I want to keep going. The audio series is good, but it'd be lovely to, I'd love to have a couple of actual meetups a year, just as networking events. That'll be lovely. And hopefully with funding and things, it'd be nice to be able to do more in-person filming with members and just create innovative projects mainly is the goal. I think it's always been a thing in Loud Voices that we've tried to sort of tell stories in an imaginative way and an innovative way, and stories that are different and engaging but can be kind of can be accessed by people everywhere really, and can, people from all over, regardless of experience or where they are in the world, can still have the same opportunities and get involved in the same projects.
Mhm.
Um, so I think sort of building up that momentum of keeping creating innovative things and having networking events and building up our membership and just giving
Mhm.
more experiences to people, I think is the goal. So hopefully it'll just continue to grow, and it is at the moment. We're doing quite well.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's really lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's been, I mean, it's been going strong for the last what, almost 3 years now, has it been?
Yeah, 3 years.
At
It was three
least
years in
two.
April.
Yeah, yeah. I know I first seen one was it way, way back. I seen the casting call on one of the casting call website, the .com websites, and I said, oh, I said, geez, that sounds interesting. And, I think I'll give it a try. And like they say, yeah, the rest is history. It's been an absolutely fantastic experience, and everything that you've allowed all of us to do creatively, whether voiceover work or actually on camera work, like you do a lot of the on-set location now in the UK, or like first starting out with the Zoom, or which you still continue to do, Zoom projects as well. So yeah, so you were mentioning about your dad had to take a job as a delivery driver when everything shut down. So has he returned, say, like full time to what he was doing before the pandemic? I mean,
Yeah,
artistically, or
yeah. Basically, as soon as theatre started opening, he was sort of back
oh, okay,
immediately in it.
okay,
When the theatre, because he's a touring theatre show. So
oh, cool.
as soon as the theatre's closed, he was out of a job.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah,
and because
yeah.
he's sort of, even though he's contracted when he's on that tour, when he's not on that tour, he's basically just freelance.
Oh,
And
okay.
always has been. He's never had a regular job. He's been a musician since he was 19.
That is
He's never
fantastic.
done
Yeah.
anything other than that.
Wow. Wow.
So as soon as the theatre's closed, he had to find something else, inevitably, because none of us knew how long that would last for.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, then luckily, as soon as theatres opened and they got word that the show was coming back and all that kind of stuff, then he got a contract through. We went back on, and now I think he's in Swansea this week. So he's still
Oh,
very much going around at the moment, different theatres.
okay. Well, yeah, that's fantastic that he always had that passion to pursue what he loved, his art. Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and and you inherited all of that from him and what you do today. So the talent of your dad and your mom has produced all the great things that you're doing today, and will keep on through the rest of your career. So you got, like they say, that's a feather in your cap, right? That's a big advantage for you in your pursuit and your love and passion for your art. So yeah, that's
I think
absolutely great.
growing up, seeing people so passionate about the industry and the creative
Yes,
world they live in was definitely very
that's right.
motivational.
That's right. That's right. That fed your energy to do more, right? That I mean, that was just it was just like feeding your passion, feeding your energy. It's like, wow, they can do that. So can I, right? I mean, why not? Yeah, yeah. So it'll be almost a year now since you and Michael Lake, who I've also been privileged to work with, starred in Two Artists in a Relationship, which was amazing because it was both a film and a play at the same time in the same time frame, and it was directed by Bexus Barlow, who I've also been privileged to know and work with and meet last year as well, and at the Barcelona Film Festival in Barcelona. So that a combination film and play was, like I says, well, probably almost exactly a year, right? July 22.
Yeah, a
And
year ago.
so with all of that, since you had well, it was only you and Michael in the play, right? And Bex's directed it. And I mean, it's such a unique and I don't know if you want to say groundbreaking event or but it was something that isn't done all the time at the same time, the film and the play. I often thought, what was that experience like? Uh, acting like one-on-one with Michael and directed by Bex's and doing a film, and then in the back of your mind, I got to do this in a play at the same time. I mean, what was that like? I mean, I've always wondered that. What was it like?
It was a lot. Um, it kind of it kind of came about oddly as well. Like I basically written this play, and needed someone to read it through with me just so I could hear it out loud. So I put a thing on the Loud Voices membership group, to ask if anyone would help me, and Michael very kindly said they would. So we sort of read it together on Zoom just so I could hear it, and hear that it made sense. Um, and it was great, and we read it together, and he read it amazingly. He's an incredibly talented guy. So I sort of said to him, this is a really crazy idea, but like as soon as you read the role, I just saw you as the role. Would you be interested in maybe coming to the UK and we can film it together? Because he's
Yeah,
in Toronto. Um,
yeah, yeah.
which in itself was just a crazy idea, and he basically was like, "Yeah, sure." So that's how that happened.
Sure, I'll
Um,
swim across the ocean to be in your film play,
yeah,
right?
it
Okay,
was it was
why not?
bizarre. I sort of said to him, I was like, I'll sort you somewhere to stay. Like, I'll get you a hotel and everything. Um, and I sort of decided I was going to act in it. I hadn't acted for a few years, really. But just thought I would. Why not? And then I asked a good friend Bex to direct it because they mentioned that they were really interested in that side of the industry and hadn't really looked at it much before. So I just asked them if they fancy directing it. Um, and yeah, they said yes. So that was lovely. And yeah, and then the process of it was quite interesting. We sort of filmed it for 2 days. When Michael first came over, we had like a day when he first came to look around, and then before we knew it, we were filming in this very house, in my
Oh
house.
wow.
We were filming for 2 days. I got a really good crew together who are now my go-to crew for all of my films, but that was kind of the first time we worked together. But they're incredible. And then we shot that out for 2 days, which in hindsight probably wasn't enough time, but we got there eventually. And then we had maybe about a day after that, and then we were on a train into London. Me, Michael, and Bex went to London together, and we
Wow.
stayed there we stayed
Wow.
in a Airbnb.
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
And then we performed the film as a play, um, over 2 nights. But the play
uh-huh.
itself was different because the play was longer. The play was
Yeah,
probably double the
yeah,
length of
yeah,
the film. So it was like an hour long play, so an hour long of dialogue. And the dialogue
yeah.
was different to the dialogue that we had in the film, and the
Uh-huh,
film was
uh-huh.
also shorter, so a lot of it was cut.
Yeah,
So it was quite
yeah,
a lot. It was a lot to
yeah.
remember, and because it's just two people, it was very word heavy and
Oh
very
yeah,
dialogue
oh
heavy, and
yeah,
really relied on me and Michael kind of having each other's back, and if one of us got stuck, knowing that the other person would get them out, and just having that
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
ultimate, which
yeah.
which we did have, and it was the start of a what was already a lovely friendship. And
Hmm.
I'm very fortunate that I'm going to be when I'm in New York in November for the film festival. I'm going to actually be going to Toronto.
Oh really?
After
Great.
that ends, and having a bit of a catch up with him then. So he can show me around the artistic spots of Toronto. So
Okay.
yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely to work with him in person, and but it was definitely one of the wildest weeks of both
Yeah.
of our lives, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know I was going to say it. I kept trying to think, has there ever been anything done like that? A combination film and a stage play all in such
Mhm.
a short amount of time. I don't know. Were you ever aware of anything that's been done like that before?
I mean, I know of of plays that have been adapted to films and vice versa, but I
Yeah, yeah,
definitely don't
yeah,
know of any processes where someone has made a short film
yeah,
and
yeah,
put the
yeah.
same
That's
short film on as a theatre show in the space of five
yeah,
days.
yeah. I know that's what I mean. That everything was like so condensed. It was like the film and then the play, and it's like I don't know. To me, uh, that would make a good documentary, wouldn't it? Like
Yeah,
behind
yeah,
the scenes, a film slash stage play or something. I mean that. I mean, in just the few minutes that you've been, briefly talking about it, I mean, it's got me hooked. Yeah, taking that question further about that film slash stage project in the UK you did last year. Um, a thought came to my mind that you've done a lot of directing and producing on the filmmaking side. In the future, your future plans, do you ever envision taking that same talent of yours for directing and producing and transferring it to the stage? You've already done that in this project, the film slash stage project, but do you envision yourself doing that more in the future, as far as like stage productions go?
yeah. I mean, I've been quite fortunate to do two other stage productions in the past. I did one about 5 years ago that I took to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And that was one I wrote and acted in. And then also, I think a year after that, I did another two-handed play that was in the same venue in London as Two Artists was, and we also put up in Manchester as well. Um, so I've sort of had kind of three sort of more professional stage ventures. I would like to do more. Um, I think theatre is I always find theatre harder than film. I know for some people it's the other way around, but film is kind of where I'm comfortable.
Hmm.
Theatre is always quite challenging for me. So I have to
Hmm.
really like it has to be an idea that I'm really in love with or something that I'm,
Right, right.
very willing to spend a lot of time on because of how challenging I find it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I'd like to. It's been, like you said, it's been a year since we did that one. So I think it'd be nice to, maybe do something next year that was theatre related, or maybe, take something back to Edinburgh Fringe in a couple of years would be really lovely.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it would be nice to kind of get more into at least doing maybe one theatre themed thing a year, maybe.
So yeah, I mean, I'd like to really thank you, Ella, for being on my show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Like they say, long time no see. Well, we've seen each other virtually, but not in person since last year in Barcelona. And I think we'll run into each other a couple times again this year in a few months in Barcelona. So thank you very much for being on my show. And yeah, I wish nothing but the best and success for you in your career.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, everyone, my name is Edward S. Redcar. I'm the host of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. And until the next time when I have another guest on my show, have a good day and stay tuned for my next talk show that's coming up soon. And please remember to subscribe and to my YouTube channel, Edward S. Redcar, and also leave any comments or any likes in any of my videos, including this one today with my interview speaking with Ella. So until the next time, everyone, I wish you a good day, and we'll see you next time. So long.